pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The first item of business is the approval of minutes for the October 2nd, 2019 Selectmen's meeting. What is the board's pleasure?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion we waive the reading of the minutes and accept them as written.
A motion by Jim.
Second.
Second by Rick. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That looks like unanimous. Next up is public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak with the board about anything that is not on the agenda? Yes, if you could come forward, please state your name and address.
Yes, Brian Brandy, 3 Enterprise Street, Adams, Massachusetts, Precinct 5. And I'm just here tonight, as we know, Thanksgiving is coming. And I'm here tonight to invite everybody from the town of Adams to our first annual free Thanksgiving Day dinner at the First Congregational Church. And it's a good dinner. It's being catered by me and my wife, and we have basically turkey all the way to pie. Everybody likes pie, right? So I like pie. And it's ham, mashed potatoes, stuffings, peas, carrots, tossed salad, rolls, butter, cranberry juice, all kinds of cocktails, non-alcoholic cocktails. And we will I have some flyers here if you would like to accept them. I appreciate that very much. I have some flyers that I've given to people that are at the Council of Aging. And we also will be serving shut-ins if everybody would like to come out and call us. The shut-ins will be served after 2 o'clock. This is my first time doing it, a little experience with me. I was born and raised here, went to Zip Valley, went into the Air Force, was a cook for 20 years, was a general's aide for 20 years. So know how to cook a little bit, and it's going to be a real nice dinner. It's not going to be any paper plates or anything like that. It's going to be all china. It's going to be at the First Congregational Church, and we just want to give back to the town of Adams. It's like the great Justin Moore says, we go to church and we thank God for all that we have given. So that's what we want to do tonight. So accept these flyers. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time. Hope you guys have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it looks like the date is November 28th, and it'll right on Thanksgiving from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you very much. And we will get these posted. Is there anyone else here to speak to the board under public comment? Okay. Oh, public comment? Go ahead.
I just have one thing I want to share outside.
Sure. Does your helper want to help you with your
She might.
public
You wanna
comment?
come up?
Hi there.
Excited. So my name's Erica, for the audience that might not know. My name's Erica Giugenti, the director for the Adams Senior Center. I'm here for a couple of things today, but I wanted to just under public comment put out to the community an urgency and a call to action for volunteers for our AARP tax program. It's an incredibly important program, and the program itself is in dire need of volunteers this year. It's actually at threat of closing down in Berkshire County as a result of not having enough volunteers. In Adams already, we know we're going to have to cut down to very minimal hours with a lot less opportunity as a result of the volunteers that we have currently. Last year, for anybody who doesn't know, in Berkshire County, we serviced more than 1,000 tax preparers as a whole. And the program is for low to moderate income adults to file a basic return. So volunteers don't need to be math wizards. They don't have to necessarily feel comfortable, or even, they can be that person that says, I've never filed my own taxes. There is a very great teaching program, a training program, and a mentorship that happens through the program. And it's a really great opportunity, even in the very beginning, if somebody would be willing to be interested, to just do like the circuit breaker credit. For those who don't know, it's a credit that the state provides for people under a certain income and over a certain age. And for many people who don't have to file anymore, or think that they don't have to file anymore are still eligible for that credit, and they could get several $100s back under that credit. And so please, if anybody is interested or willing to find out more information about that tax program and volunteering through that tax program, our office at the Senior Center is 743-8333. You can always call Town Hall too, and I'm sure that they'd be happy to give it to you. But we are in desperate need of people to step up and learn more about that program and how they can be a volunteer for that program that runs the general tax season. And that's it. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to say, Erica, it's been helpful for myself. You know that I go down there yearly, and I hope you can get some people, because I know it's tough for a lot of older people trying to do their taxes, and if they bring them somewhere, it's very costly for them, so.
Can be.
Yeah.
Especially when you're only getting a few $100s anyways. You end up having to forego that and still pay. So it is a great program. That's Mr. Joe.
All right. Well, thank you. Anything else under public comment this evening? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. The first item on the agenda was to be a presentation about veterans donations. Unfortunately, Veterans Agent Steve Roy is unable to join us this evening, so we can table this for, do we need to table it, or can we just
I think you can just
move along?
move along, and we'll put it on the next
Agenda.
available agenda for Steve to appear.
That sounds great.
I believe he had a family.
Yep. Okay. So then we'll move on to item number 2, the declaration of surplus property, and we are talking about 20 East Street. Jay, do you want to?
Sure. So as we know, the board has discussed what to do with the community center. That's the address, 20 East Street. The Community Development Office, as we spoke about at a workshop, is prepared to put out an RFP, request for proposals, in order to make 20 East Street available, to see what interest would be out there to develop the parcel. Massachusetts procurement law, under Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, requires the Board of Selectmen, under our town government charter, to declare it available, which will allow the Community Development Department to put out that RFP. That trips at any property over $35,000, which obviously that parcel is. So Donna has indicated that in putting the RFP together, she'll be working with the Office of the Assessor to take a look at the valuation of that property and put a package together for that. In terms of timeline, just so the board is aware and the public is aware, she is currently and her staff working on the Memorial School RFP. She's hoping to have that out by the end of November, and at some point to have the 20 East Street RFP, should the board decide tonight to make it available for that process sometime in December, if not into January. As a status for the building, so the board knows, our building maintenance staff has turned off water, has turned off gas to the building. All water system components, anything in threat of freezing, will be drained and properly mothballed. And electrical service will remain on for safety and security measures. And both the police department, DPW, and town-owned building maintenance departments will be performing routine building checks on it for the time being, until we can determine what the results of the RFP are. So tonight, the board is just being asked to vote on to make 20 East Street available for the RFP process.
Okay. Any questions for the town administrator?
Just one.
Sure.
I mean, do you have to declare it excess property every time you do an RFP? Because I know we've done this like twice before.
It's possible, but I think at this point, Donna's requesting the process, knowing that it's likely to be sold, to expedite the process. The language in the law is, it requires any disposition of real property regardless of value. Municipality required to declare the property available for disposition and determine the value of the property. In our case, because we're a town structure, the declaration for disposition must be made by this board. And if the value of the property exceeds $35,000, the town has to solicit those proposals to dispose of it. We can't just unilaterally decide to sell it. So that's the process. I think if we were going to lease it, under those situations, we probably wouldn't have to declare it available, because we would hold the underlying fee. But in this situation, the decision of the board is generally see if we can get a buyer for it.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. When we put out RFPs, how do we, where do we put them and how do they work? Are they specific to a building, let's say, because I believe this building would probably be only viable for someone who wants to maybe develop it, where some of our other RFPs are for electrical. So in short, I just would like to have some clarity on how and where our RFPs go when, let's say, for instance, if we vote this as surplus property, how do you market it?
So Donna does that. She has a particular, I believe, website that she publishes that to, that is for essentially real estate. Beyond that, let's check with her, because I don't want to speak beyond my own
Yeah.
knowledge, but I know that there's a specific website that she'll post that to for people to look at. She may also publish it to realtors, et cetera, but that's just an assumption on my
Yeah.
part, because we haven't gone that far in the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Any other questions? What's the board's pleasure?
Make a motion that the board designate property at 20 East Street as excess
I have yeah.
or surplus.
Surplus. Yep.
Surplus.
I have a motion by Rick,
I'll second it.
second by Jim. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? It is unanimous.
And I'll get more information on that for you, Joe.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
get
fine,
it.
that's okay, yeah.
Next item, we have received a request from Superintendent Jim Brosnan from the Northern Berkshire Vocational Regional School District to declare the position of the Northern Berkshire Vocational Regional School District School Committee member as a special municipal employee. As this board is probably well aware, we've done this recently, at least in the last couple of years, with the position of the Town Administrator Screening Committee member, and I think at our last meeting, the Council on Aging Board member position. Superintendent Brosnan has sent this request to all of the communities that make up the Northern Berkshire Vocational Regional School District to designate this position as special municipal employee. And therefore, it is in front of us this evening to see if we could honor this request and designate the position of Northern Berkshire Vocational School District member, school committee member, as special municipal employee. It's a mouthful. Sorry. Had to make sure I had the legal language correct.
And that's for one person, because Adams has one representative on that committee. So
No,
it is the-
No,
we have three.
Oh, you got three. So it's
believe it's
anyone
three.
who represents Adams. The other municipalities would have to do it for their
So it's
for their
for
respective.
all three, not just the interim?
It is the position itself. So it's not for a person who's, we're not doing it for a person, we are doing it for the actual position of committee, school committee member. So it's all of the people who make up the Adams seats. They each will be designated special municipal employee. And then the North Adams representatives, they are asking the city of North Adams to do the same and so forth for all of the communities. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah,
but no.
okay.
It doesn't make sense.
It runs,
I mean, what is the benefit and what is the negative for the town?
it protects. It's in relation to Mass General Laws, Chapter 268, which is the ethical rules. And it's so that a person who's in that, the way that town council's explained it to me, the person who sits in that position by fault of being in that position is not in ethical violation because they may hold another position. For example, we had to do that with Mr. Shepley because Bruce holds a position on the Council on Aging, yet he's also offered to drive the van per diem for pay. So that's why he had to be declared a special municipal employee under the ethics rules. So I believe it's the attorney representing the McCann School District that's looked at that and is aligning all of these correctly. So it has to deal with that, the ethical position that the person may be in that because we tend to, unfortunately, the pool of volunteers these days to sit on these committees, et cetera, is shallow. So multiple people fill these roles, and that's the way town council explained it.
But it's not just for Bruce, it was for all
Correct.
persons who
Who
have the
are-
title
right.
of Council on Aging.
The position of, the designation of special municipal employee runs with the position, not the person in it.
Correct.
Well, in the case you mentioned earlier, we didn't designate all drivers, part-time drivers as,
Council on Aging members.
We designated the Council on Aging board member position as special municipal employee in advance of.
It's a semantic procedural request.
okay.
And I would just like to say, I think this is the first time, at least since I've been on the board, that there has been an opening at McCann's, because the other people have been long entrenched in the position, so I can understand why we're doing it.
And again, it's all the communities that are being asked
Yeah.
to do it, just across the board. So with that, would anyone like to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion that we designate the Northern Berkshire Vocational School District School Committee members for Adams as special municipal employees.
Okay, I have a motion by Rick,
I'll second it.
second by Jim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And that is unanimous. So, as Member Novak alluded to, we did receive a resignation from a member of the Northern Berkshire Regional Vocational School District. That was a seat held by Aaron Dean, who had to resign his seat on the school committee, given his appointment as superintendent for the Adams Cheshire Regional School District. So we posted the notice that there was a vacancy and asked that applications be received by, I think it was Halloween, the end of the day on the 31st, so that we would have the information in advance of tonight's meeting. We did receive one application. The application is in your packet. It is from Bruce Shepley, who is requesting to serve on the school committee, the Northern Berkshire Vocational School Committee, to fill out this year. So this seat will be on the ballot for the next town election in May, but we are being asked to fill this seat for now through May. And we've received one application at this time. And the town clerk tells me that Mr. Dean's seat, his term would have ended 2021. So I believe that on the ballot, it would be a one-year seat in May. If I understand everything correctly, that has been sent to me in advance of tonight.
Need a motion?
I do need a motion.
I
if
make
you're
a
ready.
motion that we appoint Bruce Shepley to the McCann School Committee until May 2020.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim,
I'll second.
second by Rick. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? That is unanimous. I will let the superintendent know. He's anxiously awaiting what took place. So that's good. All right. That brings us to ratification of appointments. Jay, I'm going to turn this over to you to walk us through these three appointments. if
Sure.
that's okay?
First two we have involve the Council on Aging. As the board may know, we've had some turnover over at the Council on Aging. It's a busy department, and it provides services Monday through Friday, particularly on the van service that we offer. So Erica and her team had to pull together We had to post these jobs, and thankfully Erica's now at the point where she's ready to appoint. So you'll see some correspondence in your packet, and Erica's here. She's happy to introduce you to her two candidates ready for ratification this evening.
Okay. So I will, yeah, go ahead.
We have, regarding van drivers, just to refresh, and so the folks at home watching, we have 3 van driver positions. They are permanent part-time employees. 2 work 19 hours a week, 1 works 10 hours a week. So tonight, Erica is going to be asking for your ratification for 1 of the part-time 10-hour and 1 19-hour.
Okay. So we will start with the part-time 19-hour-a-week position. So I have here a letter. I will read the one from the Town Administrator. Dear Chairman Hoyt, this letter is to advise the Board of Selectmen that subject to the Board's ratification as provided in Section 10 of the Town Charter, Neil Crozier, did I say it correctly? Hopefully. Has been appointed to the position of part-time 19 hours a week Council on Aging van driver. If ratified, Mr. Crozier will begin effective November 7th, 2019 at the grade 5, step 1 rate of $16.61 per hour upon completion of all hiring requirements. And it is accompanied by a letter from Erica, but Erica, if you wanted to walk us through.
So he cleared his scoring and is ready for a DOT physical that's scheduled tomorrow. I'd like to get him started as soon as possible, and he's willing to come in and do some shadowing in the meantime so that he kind of just gets to learn some of the players. Of course, he understands that his hire isn't official until he passes that DOT, and we get that information back. But Mr. Crozier interviewed quite well, comes highly recommended from a partner agency of ours over at Berkshire Community Action Council, where he provided some transportation service before their program closed. Retired gentleman, looking to keep busy and get back into the community as a North Adams resident, and we're happy to have him.
Any questions, comments, or a motion?
I make a motion that we appoint Neil Crozier as a part-time Council on Aging van driver for 19 hours a week.
Okay, I have a motion by Jim.
I'll second, but I should say ratify
Ratify.
the appointment of, because
Right, okay.
we don't make the appointment. We
Okay.
just, okay.
You okay amending your motion
Yes.
to say ratification? Okay. And Rick, you're okay with seconding that with the amended? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's unanimous. We will move on to the part-time 10-hour-a-week Council on Aging van driver. I have a letter here from Town Administrator. Dear Chairman Hoyt, this letter is to advise the Board of Selectmen that subject to the Board's ratification as provided in Section 10 of the Town Charter, Jolene Trojan?
Jolene.
Trojan.
Josine? Josine? Okay.
Sorry, Jolene.
Jolene Josine has been appointed to the position of part-time, 10 hours a week, Council on Aging van driver. If ratified, Ms. Josine will begin effective November 7th, 2019 at the grade 5, step 1 rate of $16.61 per hour upon completion of all hiring requirements. Is there anything you'd like to add about
Again,
Jolene?
has an extensive background of working with elders in a variety of different avenues with activities, programming, dementia units, home health aid, PCA work. So she has some great skills in that field. Has not particularly driven any lift passenger vehicles or anything like that, but she interviewed very well. And we're excited to get her training. Again, she just took her DOT physical today or yesterday, so we should hear back from that very soon, cleared her query, and we're going to get her started this Friday. So this, again, is the position that's part administrative assistant sort of duties, so they work in the office one day, answering phones, booking van appointments, but doesn't do any other, doesn't do the payroll processing and stuff like that. It's just booking transportation appointments and
That
drives the
position,
van on.
that position still, that's the administrative assistant position, that still remains vacant, and that was
Yes.
posted, I believe, today.
Publicly posted, yeah, to the public. So we do have a 19-hour administrative assistant position open on Monday through Thursday.
I just had a quick question. Now, the van driver's getting 19 hours a week, whereas the other person, you just said what her obligations would be. Is there any reason, is it budgetary reasons, or do you need the second person, Jolene, for just 10 hours will suffice what she would need to do?
So when we had full-time positions, we were able to cover our shifts Monday through Friday with 2 full-time people. But when we broke down to part-time people, we had 2 part-time people and a full-time person still. So when we lost that full-time person, which was Rita Clark, to retirement, we then had to cut that into part-time positions. So in order for us to cover all the shifts, what it turned out to be is several part-time positions and a 10-hour position, because we sort of had a hole. And because of the way it worked out, if we kept this particular 10-hour position just transportation only, it would have gave us 3 drivers on 1 day a week. There was no way to sort of extend the hours or make it work anyway. So we said, well, if we have an administrative assistant position and we only have them 4 days a week, then it made sense to make this 10-hour position with some office duties. And it actually is, it's a good practice that they get to see what happens on the inside of the office, the scheduling, the coordination, everything that goes into that. And I think that she says she doesn't have a whole lot of administrative assistant duties, but I think she'll do just, skills rather, she feels, but I think she'll do just fine. She has great, what it seems like, customer service skills, and she's very courteous and appears to be a very caring person, so I think she'll do wonderful managing our phone lines and booking appointments. And what's nice about this position is she does still have the availability to pick up hours. So the situation we sort of got into is the 2 part-time van drivers that we do have right now that are working out wonderfully are both state and municipal retirees, so they're only able to work so many hours within a calendar year before it affects their retirement. And they've reached the end of that gap a little bit too soon for us in the calendar year as a result of picking up all sorts of extra shifts to help limp us along. So when we come into the new calendar year, and those 2 people are both faced with that same challenge of having to self-furlough about 20 hours a calendar year, which they're willing to do, we're able to ask someone like Jolene or Neil to pick up the extra shifts because they can work in abundance of hours as long as they have the availability.
In question, just piggybacking off what you said, at one time there was 2 full-time people, right? What happened when they left? Why didn't we get full-time people? Was it a decision that we made? I can't remember about, because we didn't want to pay for the benefits and...
There was a budgetary decision determined under the last administration.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion the board ratify the appointment of Jolene Drosine to the position of part-time council on aging van driver at 10 hours a week.
All right, I have a motion by Rick,
Second it.
second by Jim. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just a clarification, that will be fine if we just say that Jolene is going to be a van driver, but you mentioned also she's going to be doing administrative work. You think it would be...
Yeah, when you look at the budget, it actually says administration, but the job description
Yeah.
reads with administrative duties.
Okay, so that will be fine, there'll be no problem with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was advertised that way, too,
Yeah.
as the split, the slash job.
okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Anyone opposed?
I just
It is
want
unanimous.
Thank you. I just want to take a quick minute. I know it might not necessarily be the time, but I wanted to, while I'm standing here, let you guys know how much myself, my department, and I know fellow colleagues of mine are appreciating Jay Green in this role. He is doing an incredible job. I think it is important for our community to know how supportive he has been to us and the creative thinking skills he's brought to the table to try to help us think about how we can address the change that we went from some full-time positions down to part-time positions. We've had some great brainstorming sessions, and we incredibly, incredibly appreciate him, the support he's provided us through all this sort of chaos of vacant positions and mishaps that we've had, and we very much appreciate you. We appreciate him very, very much. So Great decision. Thank you. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
Just so everyone knows, it is not review time, so
We have that on live record, so it's...
We're aware of your review time. No, we're aware of your anniversary date. It's coming up in March. No, but thank you, Erica. I appreciate the comments. So we do have one more ratification before us tonight. It's a temporary transfer station attendant/custodian position.
thank you. So as you can see, the town administrator has been spending quite a bit of time trying to fill positions and get us up to full staff so we can continue to provide the quality constituent services that our residents expect. So this position deals with the transfer station attendant and custodian. It is a split job, as the board was made aware during the budget development season. The intent of the job is to assist our full-time public custodian, that would be Kyle. Kyle is responsible for all of the maintenance and custodial duties in Town Hall, the library, the Council on Aging, any particular needs that fall under the town's responsibility for the Registry of Deeds building, as well as anything that needs to be augmented over at the police station. The Council on Aging, as Erica can tell you, that building is heavily used, so he spends a lot of time there. And of course, the library is a beautiful vintage building, and with his age as well as this beautiful building, Kyle's been busy. So there was a decision to be made that we need a second custodian/handyman to assist in that. At the same time, during the budget development session, it was identified that we really need consistency at the transfer station. Thankfully, since I came on board, we've had Kyle and/or one or two people augmenting from DPW up there at the transfer station, and the feedback that we've gotten from the public has been exceptional in terms of Kyle's ability to deal with customer service issues at the transfer station. So when we went to look for a hire for a person who will be spending the majority of their time in the public buildings as well as the transfer station, we wanted to find somebody who fits well. That person is Mr. Shea. Mr. Shea comes to us from the Westfield area. He's a former correctional officer for the Connecticut Department of Correction. He's moved to the Berkshires. He was looking for, he's also a barber. He owns his own barber shop. Life has taken him to the Berkshires, and he started off as a seasonal employee when we hired our seasonals in the spring, and we've received a lot of positive feedback about Jim's work performance from Mr. Wojcik and Mr. Kodak, as well as the other members of the DPW team. So Mr. Shea interviewed for this job. Jim brings a nice personality to it. He has that law enforcement experience, which I think will be helpful to some degree, dealing with sometimes the thorny issues at the transfer station, as well as just a nice demeanor, which is important. He likes to landscape. I was pleased to understand that he attempted to put a big B in his front lawn for the Boston Red Sox by using the light green and the darker green mowing techniques. So we might see some unique landscaping features for Jim. So I'm pleased to put Jim in front of you for ratification this evening.
Well, even after that news about the bee in the lawn, I will read the letter from the town administrator. Dear Chairman Hoyt, this letter is to advise the Board of Selectmen that subject to the board's ratification as provided in Section 10 of the town charter, James Shea has been appointed to the position of temporary transfer station attendant/custodian for the Department of Public Works. Mr. Shea has been working as a seasonal laborer for the town of Adams and has been assisting the current custodian as needed in both the transfer station and custodial duties. Mr. Shea has shown through his performance of manual labor on the job, his work ethic, and positive attitude that he is ready to move forward into this position. He will begin this position effective November 7th, 2019 at the Grade 4, Step 1 rate of $15.27 per hour. Respectfully, J.R. Green, Town Administrator.
Just as a reminder, too, with the reason why it's titled temporary, just so everyone's aware, that position does not carry benefits with it at this time. If the logistics of the position work out well, in the sense that we're able to meet our needs for maintaining our buildings, assisting the full-time custodian, as well as providing the adequate service at the transfer station, Mary Beverly and I are hoping that we'll be able to identify the funds, of course, with the Finance Committee and the Select Board's approval to make that position full-time. But I know that in speaking with Donna and Mary, who had put it in the budget the first time through. They wanted to ensure that the logistics of the position could work first. So just as clarification, that's why it's listed as temporary.
About how many hours a week is it?
It is 35 hours a week, but that's not what trips the benefits. What trips the benefits is the duration of the actual job, and it won't time out to trip that requirement based on when we're appointing.
Okay, I will ask, because your letter doesn't say the hours, and Tim Coda's says it's full-time.
In Tim's letter?
I don't see it.
Not in Tim's letter either.
Yeah, no, it does. It
It's
says
down
to
at the
move
bottom.
forward to a full-time position.
Oh, it's just
Yeah.
the letterhead.
The hours are
That's
like
all.
at a full-time employee.
It's a full-time temporary position.
Right. Because it's through June
Yes.
30th,
It'll work June
essentially.
He has to take a furlough for a period of time, so as the requirements that we need to provide benefits don't trip.
Right.
But by the time June 30th rolls around, I'm hoping to have enough data as how the job worked through to make the decision.
Just a question, how many people put in for this position? You interviewed 3 candidates, how many people?
Total, we interviewed 3. The total who applied was probably 5 or 6. There was 8. We
Yeah.
picked the top 3.
I'm certainly, going to go along with this, but I see this being the town of Adams, and if there's anybody that's being interviewed for a position that's within the town that has, the qualifications to do the job, I think it's important that we help our people here in town. I don't know Jim at all. I'm sure what I read about is fine, but I think we've got to, help our own in some respects if you have the candidate that's able to, take on the position.
He's our own now. He has decided to move to the town of Adams. He is a resident. He lives with his fiancee and his child.
Okay.
He's
Then
here.
I have another question. You mentioned that Jim was a police officer.
Correctional officer.
Okay, so will we get in the situation that Erica was just alluding to with his pensions and things? Okay,
Too young.
too young, okay,
He chose to leave.
okay. Even though, okay, so he's not even getting a pension then? Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, whoops.
No, what is the board's pleasure with this position?
I'll make a motion to temporary, full-time temporary position at the Adams Transfer Station attendant, that we ratify the appointment, is it a ratification?
Yes.
Of James Shea.
Okay. I have a motion by Joe,
I'll second it.
second by Jim. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is unanimous. Excellent. We have 2 facility use requests in front of us this evening. The first one is the use of Summer Street, North Summer Street, and Printworks Drive for the annual Turkey Trot Running Race to be held on November 28th, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it looks like the police chief has signed it, indicating that a police cruiser will lead the event, and it is my understanding that the police chief has asked the forest wardens to assist with traffic that morning, and it looks like their insurance is in order. Is there anything from the town administrator's perspective?
Nothing to add.
Accompany this, okay. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion for the use of our streets, being Summer Street, North Summer Street, Lime Street, and Printworks Drive for the annual Turkey Run, I believe it's called.
Turkey
Turkey Trot on November 28th, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I'd like to say that this is an ongoing and a long tradition that the Western Mass Athletic Club puts on. I know when I was younger, I used to run in this, and it's really heavily attended. Very surprising when you go and see the number of people that do it. A lot of people are home visiting their some loved ones, and it's just a good event. And then people feel a lot better about going home and eating a lot of turkey. They ran a lot off.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for catching Lime Street,
Yeah.
which I had missed when I read that off. So I have a motion by Joe.
Excuse me. Okay.
I'll give that one to Jim, sorry. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is unanimous. The next item is the use of the town common by Adams Community Bank for the Adams Holidays, another annual tradition here in the town of Adams. This will be for Sunday, November 24th, 1 to 5:30 p.m. And it looks like it is the Christmas tree lighting as well. The Chief of Police has signed off on this and has indicated that he's requested that the forest wardens also assist with this event with traffic. Anything to add from the town administrator's perspective?
Nothing to add.
Okay. What would the board like to do with this one?
Make a motion, we approve the facility use request for town common for Adams Community Bank to celebrate the Christmas tree lighting for holidays on Sunday, November 24th, from 1 to 5:30 p.m.
Okay, I have a motion by Rick. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Jim. Is there any discussion, questions?
I just have a comment. This is one of my favorite activities to go to. I just enjoy watching the young children when Santa Claus drives up in a fire truck. A lot of eager anticipation.
Absolutely. Question for either Jay or Deb, do we have a tree? Or-
We do.
Okay,
We do. DPW has located a tree, and I believe they're attempting to handle that soon.
excellent, okay. And then you'll let us know if that is something that we can go public with to thank the individual, or if this was done
Yes.
anonymously?
Yeah, they're not done with the work yet. I believe that work's either scheduled for late this week, depending on the weather, or early next week. And there was still a debate on the actual day yet as well. The day may move for this event. I
Oh.
believe it's a week earlier than it usually is.
Mhm.
So they're trying to schedule getting the tree in position.
Okay. Yeah, Thanksgiving's a little late this year, so it's throwing everything off. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, great. So we'll move on to department reports. Jay?
So as I alluded to, unfortunately, winter's knocking at our doorstep. I had a conversation with Mr. Coda today. However, we don't expect much precipitation. Road temperatures are relatively warm still, so we're hoping for no accumulation on our roadways. But DPW was ready to go if need be, but I think we're going to probably see far less than an inch in terms of that. Leaf pickup is ongoing, so any folks with trees in the front of their property that are town-owned trees, just put them out. DPW will catch them. A reminder for all of our constituents regarding reverse 911, just a public service message. Remember, the reverse 911 system will capture your landline telephone automatically. However, if you want alerts, text alerts, et cetera, on your cell phone, please consider registering online for that so you can receive any emergency messages via mobile devices. And most of those forms are all available at town offices in most of our buildings as well. We hosted our second, as promised, public information session regarding the Smart Growth Overlay District, better known as Mass General Laws 40R. We held that last night. That was recorded thanks to Northern Berkshire Community Television and our ad hoc camera woman, Deb, who had
Special guest.
who had to fill in. She's hoping that it's in focus. So we'll see. But we do have a rebroadcast schedule if anybody actually wants to see the town administrator drone on about zoning regulations and rules. It will air on Friday, November the 8th at 6 p.m., on Saturday, November the 9th at 4 p.m., and on Monday, November the 11th at 5 p.m. For those of you at home who watched the first session, either in person or on film, the first 30 minutes of this session probably has the most new material. We were able to have a fairly substantial conversation with Dave Carver, who's a well-known developer. He's developed some properties here, Plunkett Hospital being one here in Adams, as well as, again, John Butler and Don Dubendorf. So we had a pretty good conversation about how 40R fits into the grand development scheme, and really what is behind the mentality of a developer when they decide to invest. That was about 35 minutes or so. So if anyone's going to make the time to watch that, and they've already seen the first one, 30 minutes is new material. After that, it's the same PowerPoint presentation and show that we did before. Also, regarding DPW, just to report, and Joe had asked about process for the temporary custodian, just to keep the board in the loop, we are interviewing 3 candidates for DPW director tomorrow. That is the first screening interview. Once that process is complete, and that involves myself, Donna Season, and Mary Beverly is a screening committee, we will advance 2 or 3 of those candidates to this board at a future date to be determined. So I'll keep everybody in the loop once we're through that. So we're on target, hopefully, for keeping our fingers crossed for a January hire for DPW, if not sooner, depending upon the awarded person's schedule. And lastly, for public information, we've heard you, ladies and gentlemen, public constituency. We will be offering Thanksgiving hours on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Town offices will be open 8 a.m. until 12:30 p.m., and town offices will be closed consistent with the holiday and our labor agreements on Thursday and Friday of that week. So town offices and town hall will be open 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. day before Thanksgiving for all of your last-minute municipal needs. That's all I have for this evening.
Great. Any questions for the town administrator?
Yeah, I have a question, Jay. I know that I went and spoke to, I believe, Deb. Have you ever got a hold of Greg Shine? Has he got back to you?
He did. We're playing phone tag, but I left him a message not long after you and I spoke, and he called me back, so I'm due to get over there soon.
Good. I think that was a good thought on his part. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for, as town administrator, to touch base with, the businesses in town and, help give them, your take on things, because you're leading us.
I'm due for a visit of Aladco as well.
Yeah, very good. Also, I'm not sure this is the time to ask, but I am going to ask. Across the street at the Mossers block, has there been any work going on that you know of? Has our town building inspector been over there or anything? No?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
The last information I had came from our Board of Health meeting today, where Mr. Bush and I attended, and Dr. Rhodes indicated that he was in touch with them regarding their anticipated use of the commercial space for the food and the food and health program. But that was the extent of it. Jerry has not been over there to my knowledge.
And was that, we okayed, we gave our endorsement for money for that. Has that been made, that grant, or has it's still in waiting?
I believe it's still in waiting, because we haven't been notified by anybody that we got it, and I would hope out of courtesy that they would let us know, thumbs up or thumbs down, if they got it, but we have not heard.
Okay, because, we talk a lot about 40R, which is important for us to go on in the future, but I think that our future has to come to fruition in some of our downtown buildings. And I know it's not any of our fault. We're doing what we can. When somebody owns a private business, they pay their taxes, and it's not a health concern, or it doesn't pose a danger to the public. But, we got to upgrade our downtown, and those are 2 key buildings that we all know, and we've been
Absolutely.
working hard as a board to try to find a way of making these owners do something.
You're absolutely correct, Joe. And as I move around town, as I'm getting more efficient in my own duties, and I have the time to do that and speak with people, a lot of constituents come up, Jay, what are we doing with Park Street? And I think it's important for constituents at home to understand that we as a team here on the town government side are doing what we can. We've done a lighting project on Park Street. We've paved it. We've installed benches. We've beautified it. We've invested public funds in those private buildings, i.e. the facade program. There's only so much government can do with those buildings. At some point, the landlords, those folks who own the buildings, they have, I believe, an obligation, if not to some degree, a moral obligation, frankly, to say, here's my building, I own it, it's a cornerstone of the town, I'm going to market it. Why that's not happening, I don't know. I can tell you that we've had several people come into town hall and they have inquired about opening a business. There is interest in those buildings. Why it doesn't stick, I haven't gotten to it yet. I know personally, I think after the first of the year, as my schedule changes, I would love to be able to sit down with all of those building owners and say, this is what we've done. What more do you think we can do to help you? And what is going on with your building? Because clearly our constituents want to know that, but it's not the town. It's not town government. It is not the community. It's the building itself. And that statement comes after 7 months of observation of the dynamics of the community.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring that to the forefront, because people have to realize, as selectmen, we want nothing more than to get some vibrancy in our downtown, but there's just so much we can do. And until someone kind of, quote, puts their money where their mouth is, then we can't do anything. So my thinking is sometimes some of these people, they have good intentions, but if I bought something and I wanted to get it up and running, because the longer you hold something, you're losing, the money that you so far put into it. So in order to, continue on a proper path for development, you have to be willing to put some of your money into it. And some of the things I see is people do a little work when they get some money from, some type of a low-income loan, or the federal or state government comes in. But, that only goes so far. And, I want so much to see that building occupied in the Jones block. And once again, I'll say lastly, I know all the board members, town administrator, and all the people in Adams want to see it open, but we just can do so much.
Correct.
And I guess that's all I have.
Any other questions or comments for Jay? Okay. Town council's not with us this evening, so we'll move to subcommittee and liaison reports, and I'll start to my right. Joe.
Okay, well, once again, the Susan B. Anthony celebration is having one of its events tomorrow. It's going to be held at the Basswater Grill in Cheshire. It's going to be a trivia contest, and the topic will center on historical women. And there's going to be prizes given out. There'll be teams of 4. I think we've sold a goodly amount of tickets, but I believe there'll be tickets available at the door should you like to come down. And it's a $10 donation to get into the trivia night, and we hope to see a lot of people there because this is one of our opening events toward our celebration that will take place next year. And secondly, I went and saw Sharon Burke. She's the environmental specialist at Specialty Minerals, and she gave me a tour of the quarry, and I had a long talk with her about the future of Specialty Minerals and all the concerns that the people in the town of Adams have. And she's a very knowledgeable person. I've known Sharon for quite some time, since she came to the area to take on this job. And she's free to anybody that, has questions about what's going on up at the quarry. And I was very satisfied with my conversation, the future of Specialty Minerals and what they're doing to take care of what people see as blight with their, their dumping and So a lot of things will be going on in near future. They may be developing a little bit to the north and filling in the large quarry because it's getting near the end of its lifetime. And so it was interesting. And that's all I have.
Rick?
Nothing.
Jim?
October 21st, I attended a Prudential Committee meeting, and that same day, we also had a meeting for the Fallen Heroes banner program that we're starting in Adams. It's moving along nicely. We had it was our first meeting. Our next meeting is November 18th at 4 o'clock. We should have more people attending this one and moving this forward a little more. October 28th, I attended a COA meeting and a retirement board meeting. And today I attended a Board of Health meeting. And the other thing I want to bring up is Northern Berkshire Coalition's having a meeting Friday at the Green from 10 to 12. This topic is going to be vaping and alcohol.
Important topics that the coalition is covering. As Jay mentioned, we did have a 40-hour forum yesterday. The Personnel Subcommittee met last week, reviewed the appointments that were on the agenda this evening, as well as a couple of job descriptions that the full board will be seeing in a couple of meetings. And I also attended the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission's listening session on cybersecurity. It was with Mass Cyber. They came to hear from Western Mass as to what our concerns are about cybersecurity. It was attended by the communities of North Adams, Pittsfield, and Adams, and Florida. And there was a lot of talk about some regionalization of IT and something to look at. So Berkshire Regional Planning Commission will be taking the lead on those discussions. And as I hear anything else, I will continue to pass that along. But there was some information about grants that might be available to us to help us. So, announcements and good of the order. Joe?
Well, I'd just like to say that what I saw today was a great example of how people come together in this community when I believe his name was Mr. Grandy came forward and stating that the First Congregational Church is going to have a turkey dinner for all the people that are in need or would just like to have the camaraderie of being with one another on Thanksgiving. And I see that in this town, which makes us a great community with the food pantry that's run by John Paul, St. John Paul Parish Center, and the Council on Aging that, you know, gives meals for just a minimal cost to all the elderly in this community. So I feel personally that, you know, our community is a sharing and helping community, and it makes me proud to be a resident of the town.
Thanks, Joe. Rick?
Nothing.
Jim?
Nothing.
I have two announcements. One, Dr. Bush has notified us that he is once again going to play low-volume holiday music this year, which will run from 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. each day from Thanksgiving through New Year's Day, and I've been asked to make that announcement. So that will happen the 28th, I guess. And in front of me, I do have a proclamation from the governor declaring Veterans Day, and have been asked to read the proclamation. So the proclamation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts states, whereas since the Commonwealth's colonial days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty, and whereas on November 11th, 1918, the armistice was signed in the forest of, oh goodness. Go ahead.
Is it Mellow? Mellow Woods?
Is it campaign?
Yeah.
Force of campaign by the Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars after 4 years of conflict, and whereas since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans, and whereas there are approximately 388,000 veterans living in Massachusetts, and whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions of our veterans have made to our country, and whereas we honor and salute those who served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage, and whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who served their country so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. And whereas in November 2019, the world will commemorate the 101st anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Now therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2019 to be Veterans Day, and urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. So I will pass that along to the town administrator from the governor's office, and it is a reminder that I should read things first and practice before I come to a meeting. But in all honesty, I hope that people will commemorate Veterans Day in a way that they see fit, which falls this Monday, November 11th. Are there any other announcements to go to the order? Anything else from the town administrator?
Do you want to announce about Veterans Day on Friday?
So the Senior Center is having a Veterans Day event on Friday at 10 o'clock. We have a local resident, Sheila Scott, will start performing music for some social hour and an opportunity to mingle and share old photos and reminisce. And so that starts at 10. Around 11:15, 11:30, we'll have a catered lunch provided by Sweetwood Independent Living. And then we'll have a really nice dessert provided by Bain Care. And then at noon, we'll all gather outside for the Post 160 Color Guard to do a flag raising and gun salute. So it should be a really nice event. We already have about 52 people signed up, and we welcome veterans to join us. Just is coughing. So we welcome veterans to join us, and it should be really nice. Just give us a call, let us know you're coming. We'll have plenty of food and a nice seat and some company for you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you to your special guest who sat through the entire meeting with all of us. I hope you'll come to other meetings too.
She may need to be designated a special municipal employee.
Trust, you want to be John?
She won't go to bed unless she sees me on TV. So I said, well, tonight, why don't you just go?
Excellent. Is there anything else to come before this board? Hearing none. Motion by Rick.
Second.
Second by Jim. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.